Hello, it's me again. In this video, I would like to show you how to establish links in Aruba CX Simulator. So basically, we're going to show you how to establish links to out-of-band management. So you can reach these switches with the out-of-band management, let that be SSH or probably web interface, and to how to establish links between switch interfaces. Like in this example, we're going to show you ports 111 and 112. Let's have a look. So here, what we're going to do, we will go to this networking, and first of all, we're going to create a virtual switch per link. So each one of these links will have a virtual switch separate from the other link. And the reason for this, we are doing this to make them completely isolated. So the first thing we're going to do, we create a switch, virtual switch. Let's give it a name, E1, E2, i.e. edge 1, edge 2, whatever name, it doesn't matter. Port, let's say port 1. And we will remove any uplink. And in the security, we'll accept the three settings, promiscuous and learning MAC and forged transmits. And we will create one. We're going to create another virtual switch, the same format, E1, E2, port 2, i.e. 112. Remove this. Again, same here. And that's done. So we created two virtual switches, and we're going to go create port groups. So I love to make it the same name, so I would rather copy this, so at least we understand what's going on. And the port group, think of a port group like an interface on the switch. Yeah. So we call this one PG for port group, and leave everything as is. We will move this one to virtual switch 1. Yeah. And security will leave as is, inherit from whatever settings in the virtual switch. We're going to add this one, and we're going to do something similar to the other one, which we're going to do port 2 PG. Is good to have consistent naming convention, and then again security is the same. We will leave it as is. Then we have two port groups. So now what we need to do is to go back to the switches. So we go virtual machines, and they are turned off. And now we will just edit the first one. Now the way it works, we have the serial ports as we have shown you in the previous video. Adapter 1 is actually the out-of-band management. So we decided to connect this one to our management network, which is 192. We leave it as is. Adapter 2 is port 1, and so on. So in this case, we connect this one to port 1 port group, then in here port 1 port group. We've done this on one switch, and we're going to do something identical on switch number 2. Edit this switch settings. Again, we leave adapter 1, which represents the out-of-band management, adapter 2, which is interface 1, and adapter 3, which is interface 2. Now we are done with this. Now remember, these switches or these simulations or these simulators mimic the 8400 series, 8300 and 8400. This means by default the interfaces are shut down, and these interfaces are layer 3 interfaces. What we're going to do now, we're going to bring them up, and we're going to see that we are able to see or have LLDP visibility between the two switches in the correct way. Let's have a look at that one. So we're going to select the two switches, power them on, and then we're going to flip to the virtual machine where it is connected to. Now we can see it is starting on both of them. We're going to wait for a few seconds. Switches will come up, and because if you remember, we connected the two interfaces 1112, yeah, so 1112. We will enable these ports, so we are able to see using LLDP command the switch from each other side. So we're gonna have a look at that now. Again, starting, if you flip to the actual switch here, we can see, all that stuff on the switch. So now the switch is up and running, and we can clearly see. So if you remember, the username admin, we configured password as admin1. Same applies here to admin1 to edge2. And you can see the interface, show interface brief, it's all shut down by default. So we enabled it, I did enable it actually, and I did bring this one up. So the two interfaces are up. Now what we can do, we have a look at that, show LLDP neighbor, and you can see the neighbors or the neighbor next to us. So this is the MAC address, okay, and that's the system MAC address. Now you can clearly see if I extend this one a little bit, we can see that in a better view. Again, issue the same command. We can see the chassis ID, which is this, are visible on the port 111 and port 112. And if you like to show version or show system here, show system shows you it's a virtual appliance here, and we can see the MAC address for this one ending in 47113. So here, show LLDP neighbor, you can see that this is the one 4713. Again, that's the same. And if you show system here, you should be able to see the same details that we can see on the other switch, meaning this is the one that we do see here is exactly the same MAC address as the other one. Let's also connect the web interface on this virtual machine to an AutoBAM management on one of the switches. So this is mimicked by the switch internal MGMT ports. So we're going to go to config. That's on. I'm just showing you an example we can do on both. Show interface MGMT. So that's the MGMT. Up DHCP, I don't have a service on that, so we're going to configure that one with a manual configuration. So interface MGMT, IB static. We'll make it in the same VLAN as our machine, so it's easy just to demonstrate. And then probably 200/24. We don't need anything else, to be quite honest. So show run current context, we can see that is the IP, so we can ping that IP address 192.168.1.200 VRF MGMT. Should be able to ping it. Also from our client that will web interface to that switch, what you can do is this. So ping 192.168.1.200 should be able to ping it. So that's pingable now. And just make sure that we show HTTPS server. It's enabled on VRF management read and write. So if we open a browser here on this machine and we try to connect to that web GUI interface of the switch, we should have no problem to do this. 192.168.1.200, and that is obviously the switch interface. We should see something like this, no problem. This is just for demo purpose. Admin, our password is admin1, and that should be, we are on the switch. That is what we would like to see. This is the GUI interface of that switch using AutoBAM management, where you can manage the switch.